morning that YouTube is going to be kind to me because it is not the best today. It's not going to work, is it? Let's see if it works. Hopefully it works, and hopefully the picture quality remains okay. YouTube on a Monday is absolutely disgraceful. So hopefully I can see the quality already is not going to be great. So we'll see how this goes. Anyway, welcome to the channel with me, JB. I hope we're all doing extremely well on this Monday, the 17th of November. Apparently there's like less than 40 days to Christmas. Danny B is already in the chat. Morning, JB. Literally just the afternoon, and exactly hit that like button. Don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. It really does help the channel. It really does. Just a simple like. It costs you nothing at all, and it is completely it is completely free. But I tell you what, the stream today is not a bad. Anyway, welcome to the channel. The only thing we do ask on the channel is that you are respectful to the community, respectful to the chat, respectful to me, and be respectful to yourself. Otherwise, the ban hammer comes out, and you get banned, and we don't like doing it. But sadly, these things happen. But we don't like doing it, so please feel free to get into the chat. The other thing to say really is, look, I'm not a dictator of the chat. It isn't my way or the highway. It's going to justice. We always like to give you a chance. So you know, it's a case of, you know, you get your opinions in. I'll give you my opinion. Doesn't mean I disrespect your opinion. All it means is that sometimes we all have different opinions, and you know, it's important to chat. So I do read all of the chats out as well. McGilbus says hi, hello, hope you're doing extremely well today. Work from home today. JB says Mr. Freeze. I'm based at home, mate. That's what. Where's Scott? I don't know where Scott is. As we all know, Scott is a legend of the chat. I don't know where Scott is today. Mr. Freeze, I basically work for myself. I always work from home. You know, yeah, that's me. I am a finance IT consultant. That's what I do. I work with many clients around the world. I'd love to do this full time, but you know, yeah, it is what it is. We've all got a job to do, and I do fit this around being a dad. I fit this around work. It's something that I love to do, something that I'm passionate about. I think it's important as well to give you guys. I think it's important to be different to everyone else, that we do give you your opinion. Scott is in the chat. Thank you. I have given this a bit of a trim as well. The beard's gone. You know, just a fresh Monday. Look, Danny B says, big up. Wisely United fans says, good afternoon to you. Hope you're well. I'm having a good day so far. Good. Let me know how your day is. It's always important to start off a Monday, a good Monday, because it sets you up for the week, right? I'm having a good day. Thank you. As well, I get to talk to you, wonderful people, which always brightens up my day as well. So, today's show, what are we going to go through this afternoon? Very good shirt. Well, one of my favorites. Yeah, this is probably my all-time favorite shirt. I remember asking for this. Scott's already on it. This shirt is basically, I remember one of the first shirts, and I've been supporting this club for 38 years, and this shirt was, I remember asking for this shirt. So this reminds me of being about 6 or 7 years old, and yeah, I absolutely love this shirt. This is one of my favorites of all time, along with the green and gold one. This is by Scott. Hope you haven't got the dreaded grey one. I used to have it. I don't have it now. I am going to get it. I am going to get a complete set all these shirts. The dreaded, yeah, that one was horrendous, wasn't it? I mean, I don't know who sanctioned that kit. I do think it's a little bit of a cult shirt. I think you definitely should own one. It is horrendous, but it's one of those cult shirts that I think that everybody should own at some point. So what are we going on today? Look, did you down the line? I didn't, mate. No, I didn't. I watched the film with the missus last night. So Die Hard, being a classic Christmas film, was one I watched. All my presents today have all been United rated, including the card. I remember a couple of years ago I did have a United credit card as well. Yeah, and I mean that misses at times can't believe the things I do. So yeah. So guys, let's get into it today. The Baleba stuff, look, again, that's coming into the show because I'm of the opinion that I think we should get him. I know his performances haven't been the best this season. I don't think he's anywhere near 100 million. Fabrizio has confirmed some stuff, so we'll go over that. And I think whether we like that or not, he is higher on that list. So we'll go through that. Mainly to Brighton. Do you think we can do something there? Do you think we can do Kobe Mainoo to Brighton? We need the details, JB. I'll give you that, my friend. Anderson as well. We'll touch on that as well. Just a little tiny piece on that. So Bouaddi, I think his name is as well. Is it Chris? Yeah. How much are you going to pay for Baleba? I'll just come on to that as well. Tchouameni. Reports in Spain are going on about him as well, and I've seen some stuff about just sort code, account number, and 3 digits on the back. Yeah, you be lucky, mate. There's some good, mate. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know. It's not my bag. It's not my scene. I'm sure I don't. I don't discriminate against people that if that's your proclivity, like, have at it. Wiseman says, so Die Hard is a Christmas film. How much are we going to pay for Baleba? Good question. So let's get into this first of all. So Fabrizio Romano has confirmed. I know, Scott. I know, mate. I know. So for Fabrizio Romano, not Indicator. Indicator, I've been putting stuff out there. They haven't put stuff out on this, but they put stuff out at the time. So Fabrizio, these are the words out of his mouth. Baleba wants United want him. Weissman said, if they're going to buy 2 midfielders, then I would go for Baleba and Anderson. If the price is right, then our spine is repaired. You should block Scott and make me moderator. Look, Scott is a legend of this chat. There are moderators. I can't make you a moderator with a name like YTVG. I need a little bit more than that. Like, I'm happy to have mods all of the time. Scott is a legend of this channel, and Scott I trust completely. So Scott is a legend. So look, Baleba, United want him. Baleba only wants us. Mark Gummer says, hi Devils. Hello, my friend. Hope you're doing extremely well this afternoon. Look, guys, get in there, give us a like, give us a favorite, subscribe, press the bell icon as well to let you know when we post something, to let you know when we talk about stuff. Just give it a press. Look, a like doesn't cost any money, right? And it really, I can't even express to you how important just pressing that button, even if you don't subscribe, which is always appreciated. Just a simple like and really does help us out. So price wise, now price wise hasn't been set. Brighton not silly, they never put a price up. So the talk from Fabrizio is they want an important price. So we are talking a Caicedo price, around the 115 million mark. Now he's not worth that right now. He's not. As simple as that. So and this is where it gets interesting. So United, Fabrizio hasn't ruled out a bid in the next window. Those are his words and not mine. He says it'll be difficult to do. Now, what goes in our favour here? Caicedo is a baller. Look, he is. He's a fantastic player. Baleba is one of those players that, look, I do think he's going to be a player. Awesome if we are able to get Baleba and Jam, but it looks like it will be all in the summer. And Mark, and this is where it is. Wise fan says Baleba is worth 55 to 65 in my opinion. I don't disagree. But we all know there's a tax involved. Brighton always get their money. Now, I think the problem for Brighton here is that Baleba only wants to come to us. Now, the problem with that, look, I think other clubs will try to maybe get in there, but at the moment, no one else is going to come in for this player when he's basically publicly said he only wants to come to United. So when that happens, no one else will bother to come in. So I think Brighton, at the moment, there is a fair price to pay. But I genuinely believe now that they are in a rock and a hard place. This is why we will give them Kobe a loan with an option to buy, and we'll take Baleba. Nicarucci says, Brighton know United are keen, so they will milk their cash cow till it produces powder milk. Now, you both make good opinions. Nicarucci, as always, legend. Scott, legend. I think was somewhere in between those two opinions. There is talk about mainly going to Brighton. Baleba only when United cancels the summer auction. Exactly. And I think those three opinions there, guys, I think you're spot on. I think it's somewhere. I do think there is a chance. We could be. Weissman says, so who would you choose as a number one signing, Baleba or Anderson? I think that we can get both, mate. Anderson would be the preference. Liverpool and Anderson, exactly, Scott. And I think so. Baleba for me, I think he's the most gettable of the two. And I know his performances have dropped off. But and there is an argument here for the mentality of playing. Now, I've said this many times. I'm not a hypocrite. I've said I only want players who have that mentality, right? Niku says, I want Anderson just to be petty and annoy Liverpool. Look, it would be amazing. I think with Anderson then Baleba, but we need both. Look, Mark, I think we're going to try for both. I do. I think with Anderson, a lot would depend. Weissman says, I would like to see Anderson in red, but not the red of Liverpool. I think it depends on Champions League. So Anderson, look, we are all in for him. There is no doubt in my mind. Anderson, we are all in for him. Right? I do think there are other clubs in for him as well, but I think Anderson, for me, circle that. We need Champions League to have any chance, I believe, of getting him, because there is his contract is very complex. Now, I think clubs can get him for between 65 and 70 million pounds. I do. I think that is the price. Apparently, the contract is really complex. Weissman says this could end up being a bidding war at this rate. I agree completely. And I think, look, ultimately, that is a summer player. There's no point, and I sort of, look, do we steal a march? Do we try and steal a march and just go, look, we absolutely believe in this player. We think he's going to be the next big thing. And do you try to do the deal now? And part of me, look, we've got 100, and I think I said yesterday, we've got about 100 million. Others are saying, in this chat, we've got between 115 to 130 or 40. We're not going to pay for this up front. So, even if you do 25 million, even if you were to do 30 mil up front and get this deal over 5 years, you could get this deal done now. Mark says, I hope signing either one first doesn't push the other one away. It should be signed in the same window, or must be informed on why only one at a time. If Liverpool want to buy players, they must have to sell. I agree, Scott. I do. So look, I think Anderson is summertime. So I think we almost forget that. And I do think we need to get Champions League football to even have a chance of that. So look, we are in for him. There is no doubt. Anderson, we are in for him. Now, Baleba. Fabrizio is basically saying that this is a difficult deal in the January window, but it's not impossible. And I just have this sneaky feeling. Look, I've nailed my nuts to the mast, right? I've basically said it's going to be the Gallagher deal. Before, I'm of this opinion that it is the Gallagher deal, and we don't do anything else. But as the weeks are going on, do Brighton say, look, give us X amount of money now? Kobe on loan. I think I genuinely believe now that there is an opportunity to do something here. And I think that if you can get him, Gallagher and Baleba in, look, Scott, I'm now starting to have my opinion swayed and changed. That I think there's something in this. If you've got a player that wants you and you want them, and in the summer, look, the longer it continues, you almost, as you said there in the chat, you almost negate the bidding war. Brighton were hoping for a bidding war. I think actually United, to their credit, have been reasonably smart in basically going all in for this player, getting him to commit. And I think Brighton are not going to get the bidding war that they want. So I genuinely think that if this is a summer deal, which I think more than likely it probably will be, but I think there's more of a chance now, because I think if we're going to go for Champions League, we need to do something. Let's go to the chat. What are we saying? I have no idea. Wise United fan says, I have no idea what the players are going to come in the summer. They could be carrying injuries. Best time to sign either or both is in the January window. I think the problem that we've got, which I think that we would do, is basically the way that the accounts work. We all know that 31st of July is the once that's pushed over, then we go into the new financial year, and then that's when we've got the spending power again. But with the amount of money that we save, the amount of money that we know, Casemiro, there is talk that Casemiro isn't going to sign a new deal because he still wants a big chunk of money up front. And I think, look, I think that we can. I think that we might go for 3. I think that we could go for 3 here. I think that we go for, and if Kobe Mainoo doesn't play, or he goes on loan to Brighton, I think that's the writing on the wall. So I think we could potentially go for 3 here. I do agree that why don't we bring forward one of the signings, because I think we need that. So I think that we could do this. I think the Baleba signing is probably closer than any of these deals. I'm still of the opinion that I think it gets pushed to the summer, but I'm with you guys. I want to see ambition. If we're going to go for the Champions League, and look, it makes sense. If we're there or thereabouts, if we're still in that top 4 hunt, right? I think to maintain that, if we get Conor Gallagher and another one of our top targets, I genuinely think we can close that pivot. I think that we can, at that point, then I will change my mind from finishing 8th to maybe up and around 5th, 6th. Now, I think that gives us a shot. Maybe we go for a loan striker as well. I think if we show ambition, I think that we can do. I genuinely believe that we can do something, but we've got to show that ambition. What are we saying? If Liverpool want to buy players, they've got to sell to buy. Gallagher and Baleba in January. Nicky says it's always going to be Gallagher on. Everything else is just smoke until the summer. I can't disagree with that. Let's have a little look. Ronaldo, yeah. Scott, Liverpool gambled on Vert, and he's not really worth the money. He has come out and he said he only wants United with his poor performance, brought his price down. We have been a tactic on Baleba part to bring his price down and to get the move. Look, Scott, you could be right. It could be if you underperform, we'll get you for a lower price, and we get you in. I think this could be a play here. It's difficult to tell, but this is what I'm saying. Now let's go and get him. I genuinely think that he will be an important player. I genuinely believe that if he comes into this club, I genuinely believe that you will see his performances increase. I think that he will close that gap, that pivot. I think that will Casemiro still play? I think he will. But I think if he comes in, I think it will be a transformative signing. Mark says if we are looking into getting any European football next season, we have to get those players in, and we must say goodbye to Casemiro. Now, on the Casemiro thing, I will come back onto that as well. Summer is a long way off. Our midfield does need surgery on it, and we are doctors to operate. Yeah, I think you're right. I think we need this. I really, really do. I agree. Casemiro will stay if he agrees to a wage cut. I don't think he will. Casemiro, look, ultimate respect for him. This season, I criticised him. I still don't think Casemiro still brings in control, and it's true. Ancelotti said the same thing, that Casemiro is really important for the system that Brazil use. Brazil, international football is not the Premier League, right? I get it completely, but whether people like this or not, and there are massive Casemiro fans out there. Look, I respect him. Do I think he is the answer? Do I think he's having the most amazing season? No. I will say he's having a purple patch in the twilight of his career. I think he's doing a good job. But international football is completely different to Premier League football. It's not as fast-paced. He scored a fantastic goal. It doesn't mean that I don't respect what Casemiro has done this season. Look, without Casemiro, without that controlled defensive midfielder in him, he's not great at going forward. He doesn't have the legs. He doesn't have the pace to go forward. But when we are more defensive, look, his control is great. As a disruptor, as a destroyer, look, the way that his brain works, the way that he's able to basically control that when we are in the defensive mode, I think he's brilliant. It's the little touches, it's the little round the corners where he suffers is when that pivot is open. When we're on the attack and then he has to run back, he can't do it. So I think there's an argument to say, should he stay at the club? Should we offer him a brand new deal? Yes, but not at the sort of money that I think he's asking for. Mark says, no way we can entertain any demands from Casemiro. He must accept offers or go to Saudi and make demands. I agree. Sounds stupid, but it could be possible. I'd rather sell or loan out Ugarte if we're going to get Baleba or Anderson. Use the money to get either. I think Amorim likes Ugarte. I think the reason why Ugarte will stay over Mainu is because Ugarte is more of a defensive minded. Whether we think he's great or not, I think Ugarte has been abjectly terrible this season. But I think in terms of what Ugarte offers, I think he'll use Ugarte more than Mainu, and I think for that reason alone, I think he'll look to get Mainu possibly out, get Mainu on loan, and then possibly bring him. Mainu, to the credit of him, is I just think he wants to play football, and I play football, and let's see where we are in the summer. If Mainu doesn't play any of these games, or limited amount of game time, then I think the writing's on the wall. Bruno Fernandes is going to play every game. 90 minutes, he's going to play it. Casemiro will play for 60 minutes. Then if he's going to use Ugarte rather than Mainu, then he knows where he is. And I do think then at that point we go, look, we do need somebody to come in. Gallagher, for me, is going to come in. I think that's a done deal. I think that's done. I think he's going to come in. And then do we be that ambitious club? And then do we go for one of our top targets? Gary says, please, we need a DM. I agree with you, Gary. And hello, my friend. If we get Baleba, then it also allows Bruno to move up the field to play how he wants and not be on the defensive side of the game. Scott, I think that's a fantastic point, mate. I agree with you completely. We need to try and get the Mainu saga sorted, or he will stay or go. Would Mainu be happy to play alongside Baleba or Anderson? I don't think he plays alongside those two. I think Anderson comes in. Anderson, look, the Bruno position, in my opinion, shouldn't be what Bruno Fernandes does. Look, you look at what Bruno did for Portugal, right? Anderson would bring something different to that role. Anderson, I think, would be more controlled. I think his passing would be... He would be a different sort of number 8. This is why I think that Bruno Fernandes could possibly go. If Bruno Fernandes stays, where does Bruno Fernandes play? Cunha plays there. Is Amorim looking to play Cunha as a false 9 centre forward? To back up Šeško. Could Cunha be the one that is going to be the sort of and particularly if you're going to play Champions League? I'm not saying that we are, but this fan base is itching for that. If we're looking to do that, Cunha, is Cunha going to be utilised as that player? So I don't think Baleba or Anderson would play with Fernandes. I think those two would come in to be the midfield pivot. Mark says mainly has to play at United. We need him on the field. Mark, again, opinions. I'm not calling your opinion out. I'll give you my sort of thoughts on it. I think Mainu is more of a 10. Amorim doesn't fancy Mainu. Like, when we're talking about Mainu needs to play, right? I'll sort of give you my opinion on it. Look, we finished 15th last season. Mainu is part of that squad, right? We're having a better season. I don't think we're playing better. I've not been impressed by Mainu's cameos this season. The Grimsby game, for starters, and look, we can all say that was a team effort. I'm not laying it at his door there. I think that Kobbie Mainoo, look, is suffering from this team is doing better than planned. I don't know what Kobbie Mainoo is going to do differently. If we play 3 in the midfield, I would agree with you. There's this rhetoric. There's this thing that Kobbie Mainoo needs to play. I don't see what Kobbie Mainoo is going to bring in terms of the thing. Like you look at those number 10 positions. I think what you do is I think Kobbie Mainoo is too attacking, and we need more of a defensive number 8. I'd like to see Mainoo being trialled in one of those positions. Like I would rather. This is what I would rather do. Mason Mount is not a reliable player. I'd try Mainoo in a 10. I'd put Cunha up front, and then Mainoo as one of the number 10s. I would say I'd give him the 10 over Mason Mount. Mason Mount is trying to be a managed player, but I think you give Mainoo a shot at number 10. or if not, boost Bruno up to 10. Mason Mount, I think he's done. Cunha can be up front. Shesko and him can share the load. See where we are. And Mbeumo's going to go to the African Cup of Nations. Is this Kobe Mainoo's chance? We'll see. Bruno seems to be scoring goals for Portugal. That's because he's playing in his natural position. Arsenal top of the league. Set piece again. MY1. Why is that? Because he plays number 10. Mark says Anderson and Baleba is the end of Bruno in the midfield. I believe so. Abuki says the way the fans criticise Ugarte doesn't make sense. It's not like the boy has been in the Premier League. Like Isaac, we bought this guy last year and the boy has played under 2 managers. Look, Ugarte for me is a conundrum. I don't think he's had a fair crack of the whip, but when I have seen him play, I've not been impressed. Look, we are the biggest club in the world, and we need players who step up. We need players. Look, I get it. Xerxes, I think, is in the same boat, but the problem we got, Abuka, is this: because of the failure of this team, and it doesn't matter who you aim it at. Like, I'm not going to aim at players today. I'm going to refrain from aiming it at Ineos. I'm just going to talk about the club. Because of the failure of this club in the Europa League final, because of the failure of this club or where we finished last season, because of the failure of this season not being in the Carabao Cup, these players don't get a chance. And I think, what is Amorim supposed to do? Amorim is fighting for his life. Amorim is playing players he thinks that he can trust. Ugarte, he doesn't trust him. When Ugarte's come on, I watched Ugarte pre-season. I've watched all the pre-season games. I've watched every game so far. When Ugarte comes on, I like the energy that he brings, but he's not great. It's difficult. Ugarte needs a run of games. It's difficult. And because of the failure, we can't then, there's not enough games to play them all. This is why I am an advocate at the moment for games in Saudi to give some of these players a chance. And as long as these players who don't play on a weekend get a chance, I'm all for that. So I think Ugarte needs game time. Harry says, look at Baleba is a good player, but we should not pay more than 60 million and prioritise Steeler and Anderson before. Harry, again, mate, these are guys getting your opinions. I like Steeler. I do. Baleba is the one that United want. He wants us, we want him, and I think that as much as we want Steeler, like I'm with you. I hope we get 3. But the thing is here, if we get 3 and we play a pivot, 3 don't go into 2. So my top right now would be Anderson, Stiller, and Baleba. But Baleba, for me, I wouldn't be unhappy. But again, I sort of agree. Look, I do agree with that opinion. The Baleba and Anderson signings better not take the whole window, as we did not sign in Mbeumo and Shesko. We didn't until the end. Amorim rates Ugarte highly, and he doesn't understand why his intensity has gone. Nikaruchi says Mainoo is a must keep. It would be a huge mistake to let him go. If he does go, we need to replace first. Squad depth is literally a skin. And look, I agree with you, Nikaruchi. This is why I think if we're not going to play Mainoo, loan him out. Loan him out. Let the boy get more experience. Let him get game time. I don't want to sell him. I want to see him have a run in this team. I think he's one of those players that he can be anything that he wants to be. I think potentially Mainoo could be one of those players. If we let him go, he could end up being one of the best players, right? We don't know. But if we're not going to use him, let him go. But I agree. I don't want to let him go. Buki says they criticise Amorim for letting Ugarte play for him, but Amorim sees something in him that make him play in the format. Unlike Manu, I agree. Like, he does like it. Football Knowledge X says, hi, hello, my friend. It's because Amorim knows what Ugarte can do. I hope that any of the young loanees return to United. Some may not, but we do need them back if they want to return. I agree. Look, I agree. We need depth. We need youth players. I think that's been a failure of this club. We've brought in stars, and what have they done? You know, we've wasted billions, $1.5 billion on these star players, and I'm now hoping that with hopefully more games, Amorim can have a bigger squad, and we're going to see these young players start to come through. Nicarucci says, we need to believe in Amorim. He has a stubborn, set way of play, and we just have to wait for all his chess pieces to be set up first. We are judging an unfinished product. I've been saying this for the longest time. You know, how can we judge a manager? This has been my rhetoric. This has been my preach for the last year. How can we judge a manager on not having his team? How can you judge anybody? You know, he's inherited players that are not his. He's basically playing a version of survival football because he has to. What choice does he have? You know, he wants to get through the season. You know, last season was horrific. He stumbled on a team that he thinks can get him through. And let's see. Ibuku says, the boy Ugarte still needs time to learn and adjust to the league, and with help of Casemiro, he will come to light. I mean, Ugarte's been here for a year. Casemiro has been here for a year. We may have to accept Ugarte is not the player. You know, look, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong in, you know, this season we can't give him a chance as much as we would like. But sometimes that happens. You know, look, I'm going to give all these players a chance. But we may have to accept that Ugarte may not be the player that we want him to be. But I do agree. That we need to give him a chance. Mount doesn't exactly go well with the Spurs fans. They booed him last time. Mason Mount, I think it's tragic. I think it's tragic for him to be injured. I think that we got done over. Look, with Manu, for me, I think we need to prioritise other positions. I think Manu should be a bit part player. He's going to come to the forefront. I like Mason Mount. I mean, there's no doubt there's a talent there. You know, there is no doubt. And, you know, I hate to see players injured. But I just think we need to succession plan without him. Look, if he's a squad player, happy days. But I think we do need to buy different players. Ahmad and Kobe at 10 and Cunha up top. I honestly think Mount brings nothing to the team other than the press. That's been my opinion for the longest of times, is that Mason Mount reminds me of a wasp. And what I mean by that is lots of buzzing, you know, lots of buzzing around. He does that well. He does the press well, but I don't think he brings anything else to the team. A fit Mason Mount would add so much to this team. A fit Mason Mount would be fantastic in this team. I think Amorim loves Mount. It's just, I think it's pitiful. I think it's sad what's happened to him, but there's nothing that we can do. We want players who are willing to be proud of the badge and put in a good performance. When Mount comes off on bench, he can save the bacon when needed most. I don't rate him at all. Let's have a little look. I think, honestly, we offer 16.70 for Baleba plus Kobe on loan. I think if you offer up a player as well, like a Kobe Manu, even if it's just on loan, you know, I think you'd be worth a deal. How much would you pay for Stila? I think Wirtz has artificially increased that market price. I think Stila at the moment has got a release clause of 30 million, 33 million. The problem with that is Stuttgart at any time can enact can buy out the release clause for 2 million, I think it is. And Steeler can't do a thing, whether they do that or not. I mean, I'd be happy with 50 million. What did I miss, Brown Knight? Baleba, why would you do that? I would get him, to be honest. He's not playing well, but he could be our missing piece. I'm off for a birthday lunch, so have a good day. Look, enjoy the birthday. If it's your birthday, happy birthday. If it's someone else's birthday, enjoy. Amorim's inherited a worse team than Moyes did when he signed. I don't disagree. Just say as it is. Ugarte, he was off to PSG. As soon as he signed Homeland, he's not good enough, and he's all we have at the moment. I think that I do have opinions on Ugarte. You guys getting your opinions of him today for me. Look, I'm gonna refrain from giving opinions on players right now. There's going to be plenty of time to do that over the next couple of weeks. So right now, I'm personally going to refrain. But look, getting your opinions of players. I'm more than happy. I think as fans, I think you're entitled to get your opinions out on fans. Doesn't mean I don't agree with you. It's just right now I'm going to refrain from going on players. Mount reminds you of a wasp. He does. When you've got a wasp, right, and they're buzzing at you, and they're buzzing around your food, and you're trying to swat them away, and they're like annoying, and they're buzzing around, and you're like, oh, they're just noisy, and you don't want them around your food. JB, I have a question for you. Keep or sell? Oh, I love Scott. Keep, sell, or bench? A Delo, Luke Shaw, or Casa? I would keep Casemiro on the right wage. I would sell Delo and bench Luke Shaw. What do you think of Stiller? I like Stiller. I really, really like him. I really, really do. I really, really do. I think, Scott, your question should be keep rubbish heap and put out of their misery. That's what I think it should be. Steeler or Baleba? It's a good question. For me, Baleba. Look, and the reason why I say it is because you don't know how Steeler's going to be in the Premier League. Baleba has already shown what he can do. He's a slightly younger player. That's where I would be. Look, Steeler, I love him, but Baleba for me is that I think he can still be a fantastic player. Premier League proven player, tenacity. The question mark for Steeler for me is, can he do it in the Premier League? What's been your favourite United goal so far this season? What's been my favourite goal? Probably there's two, right? There's the De Ligt goal. I think that's so important. And Ahmad. Ahmad's goal, I thought the technique was fantastic. I think that for me, De Ligt's goal, I think it's so important. I think it's so important that he did that. It's not the best looking goal, but for the importance for me of not losing that match, I think his goal has been my favourite so far. Baleba is proven wrong though. Interesting opinion. What about Anderson or Baleba? I think they're two different players that offer you two different things. Anderson for me would be the one. I think he's an all-round player. I think that Baleba is a different sort of player. He's a specialist. Anderson for me is an all-round player. I would go for him first of all. I like him. I think he would be the one for me. Baleba would be a specialist player, and I would go for him second. Mine was the Maguire winner against Liverpool. Again, solid choice. Look, I don't disagree with that. in Bumo, goal, heaven assist, where Bruno Damidit was my favourite. I love it. So, Anderson, we've spoken about that. Tchouameni. Sport reports in Spain are basically saying that we like him. He's on the list of players. He's 20. Look, I've got some stats, right? Let's go through some of these stats. So, Tchouameni stats, right? Let's go through some of these stats. So, and again, I always prefix this with stats, is that, you know, they're not the be all and the sort of end all. It's interesting. It's interesting to see from a purely statistical point of view, what they're good at. I always say take this with a pinch of salt. You have to use the eye test as well. So, when we're looking at forward play, so what we do is I'll look at stats. I'll give you there. The stats are based on 365 days of the year. This is across all of the leagues. We're talking about percentile. So 100 percentile means that they're one of the best in that position. And we look at that. So basically, let's look at this. So from a attacking perspective, there's no point in even going through that, because Tchouameni, from an attacking perspective, his stats are awful, right? He's not that sort of player. You know, he's got some stats that are in the 11th percentile, total shots, 41st percentile, non-penalty, XG, 42 percentile, assists, the 9th percentile, assisted goals, expected assisted goals in the 7th percentile. I mean, that is just shockingly bad. Putting those two together, shots, expected shots, assists, 19th percentile, and shot creating actions, 7th percentile. So look, he's not that sort of player, but it's interesting to see those attacking sort of stats. He doesn't have the ability to attack according to these stats. That means Bruno will get dropped and Casa, they will both be bit part. Yeah. Do you really think he would leave Madrid to come to United? Man U 1, 2, 3. It depends on Madrid. It depends. It really depends. If the money is right, yes, 100% he would come. So let's look at the kind of more the progressive carries and the passing stats. So for passes attempted, he's in the 84th percentile at 63.3 per game. That's pretty good. I mean, that is right up there across the leagues. Now, pass completion, so passes attempted in the 84th percentile. His pass completion rate is 92.4% in the 97th percentile. So his passing is up there with the best. His passing is fantastic. Now, progressive passes forward, 54th percentile, 4.83 a game. Progressive carries, 16th percentile, not great. Take-ons, 0.3 per game, 18th percentile. Touches in the attacking area, 31st percentile, 0.76. Progressive passes recorded, 0.52 in the 5th percentile. So look, progressive carries, he's not a carrier of the ball. He doesn't take people on. He's not that sort of play. He's not a pick up the ball, progressive carries. He is a defensive midfielder, and it shows, right? Passes attempted, 84th percentile. Passes completed, 97th percentile. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Tackling wise, 1.58 per game. That's the 24th percentile. Now, interceptions, 1.38 a game, which is the 84th percentile. Blocks, 1.23 per game in the 59th percentile. Clearances, 2.91, 95th percentile. Aerials, 2.19 per game in the 93rd percentile. So look, in terms of his passing is immaculate. His interceptions are up there with the best. Clearances, 95th percentile. Aerials, 93rd percentile. Now look, he's 25, 26 years old. For me, I would rather a Baleba. would I take him? Yes, but Baleba for me would come above this player. I like him. I think that he would cost a ridiculous amount of money. Baleba for me would still be the one. So I don't think I'd add him to the list. I don't think that he's an awful player by any means. No, he does some things well, but Baleba for me would be priority. Tchouameni, if you could get him for 50 million, I would consider it. I would. If the money's right, yes. Gunez I says, what kind of a goalkeeper is Turkish goalkeeper Altay Bayindir? Awful. Terrible. I would say that he is not very good. I think his decision making. I think he's one up on Onana, but that doesn't really say much for Onana. I think he's a decent keeper. A decent keeper. I think he would be a goalkeeper for and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way. I think he's more of a lesser league keeper, where you don't have to be switched on as much. That's where I think he would be. Manuel123 says we need a midfielder like Rice. I think that anybody would like a midfielder like Rice. So that's where we are with many. So Bouaddi. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Young lad, plays for Lille. 18 years old. Pretty much only just turned 18 years old. Playing games at 18 years old. 6'1". I have one for you, JB. Keep start. Keep start. Sell Bayindir, Onana, or is that Bosnich? Bosnich, I'd start. Bayindir bench, Onana sell. So Bosnich, look, Bosnich gets a raw deal because Bosnich was a little bit of a and you can interpret that like however you want to say it. He liked to dabble in certain things. But Bosnich was a fantastic keeper. I think people sleep on him. I think he was a really fantastic keeper. He spoilt his own career, but I think at Aston Villa he was an immaculate keeper. United wasn't great towards the end because of certain habits that he had, but and I was he wouldn't make it into the Scottish League, and we are ranked 39th. We didn't have Celtic or Rangers. Our league would be even worse. Hello, bro. What do you think of England's new left back, Nico Riley? Hello, my friend. Hope you are doing extremely well, my friend. I like O'Reilly. I think he's a great player. You don't get into a Pep side, and as much as I'm not going to support City here. You don't get into a Pep side if you're a bad player, right? Livramento, I like him as well. Manu123 says stop, bench, sell Shesko, Højlund, or Rashford. Look, I'm going to start Shesko. I'm going to bench Højlund, and I'm going to sell Marcus Rashford. Simple as that. For me, would you like it at United? I think it's a redundant question because he's never going to come. Would I like him as an option? I think he would be a good option. I think he's probably better than what we've got now. We play a completely different system. Scott says we'll keep, sell, start a Delo, Luke Shaw, or Telles. Oh, Jesus. That's a good one. I would, so Delo for me, I would sell. I would bench Telles and I'd start Luke Shaw. I think I'd have to. Manu123 says, would you take Matthias Nunes? That's the PSG guy, right? All day long. I think he's fantastic. From what I've seen of him, I absolutely think he is brilliant. Tellez wasn't that bad. I don't know. Maybe I sort of am blinded because I've not seen him for a long time. I can't really remember his performances. I like Tellez. I didn't think he was that bad. Maybe I'm remembering him wrong. What's your opinion? If Papa Pep had taken United right now, do you think he could change the team to start winning trophies and back in the Champions League with the squad we have? No. He is not. Doing anything to this. Pep went into City and basically had to buy a brand new team. He's not doing anything with this team. I think the only thing I will say for Pep, I think tactically, I think Pep would have more in his locker. I think Pep would probably get more of a tune out of these players because I think tactically Pep would be better. Amorim is a young manager. I think Pep would be tactically more astute, but he's still got these players. So I don't think he would win trophies with his team. I don't think that he would get into the Champions League. I think he would need a couple of players still. But I do think, I'll take the point that I do think that he would be tactically more astute and probably he'd play Fernandes at 10, right? So I think that he would be more tactically aware. I think he would probably get the same results or slightly better. Whether he could get to the Champions League is really, really difficult to say. Keep, start or sell Butner, De Silva or Dalot. I would start Silva. I would bench Butner and Dalot I'd sell. What do you think about Bruno's performance yesterday? And do you think he should play higher at the pitch? I think that Bruno Fernandes is a 10. I think he should play as 10. International football, look, they're playing Armenia, right? Let's be honest. International football is not the same as the Premier League. Bruno Fernandes yesterday against Armenia, he's going to do well. Look, he's scored a hat-trick. Big up to him. But it's international football. It's much slower when you're playing Armenia, I think, at home as well. Look, he should be doing that. You single, what state are you in, says Abby. I'm not in any state. I'm in the UK. And sadly, for you, I'm not single. Bobby says, hello, Bobby legend. Definitely Rashford has to be sold, says Letitia Jojo official. Adam Wharton, Elliot Anderson, Baleba, keep bench. Oh, Jojo, you've come up with one there. Ooh. I would keep Anderson, bench Baleba, and sell Adam Wharton. Bruno is always and should be a 10. Sell Wharton, bench Baleba, and start Anderson. We're on the same. We're on the same. On the same mindset there, Scotty, as we always are, my friend. So look, guys, I'm going to go. Afternoon show. Look, fantastic show. I'm loving the comments. Guys, I will be back tonight. Again, international break is coming. I think it's coming to an end. We should be getting towards the end of the week, and we're in conference. Why do you think Mainu isn't starting? I think Mainu isn't starting because of the pivot. He's not defensive enough. Oh, Scott, mate. I will answer that. Keep, sell, bench. Cristiano, Rooney, or RVP? Well, RVP is getting sold. People are not going to like this, but I would bench Cristiano and Rooney would play. Now, the reason why I say that is Rooney was here for longer. Rooney is the all-time scorer. Rooney was here for longer. I would keep Rooney, bench Cristiano, and sell Robin van Persie. Now, people may say that's mad, but Rooney for me was an all-rounder. He was here for longer. It is what it is. If you're asking about the longevity of career, again, I think there's a debate. But if we're talking about length of career, Cristiano would obviously start. Rooney would be benched. RVP would be sold. But if we're talking about this club, Ronaldo bench, Rooney starting, RVP sold. Great live and all the best, mate. I've subscribed and we'll be back. Thank you, my friend, legend. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Just a simple like would be amazing. Bobby says keep Rooney, bench RVP, and sell Cristiano. Nick Ruta says Cristiano with his outbursts, he only went and chicken winged Republic of Ireland player and does a crying face, then he mocked by the same fan reaction. I can't believe what Cristiano did. I mean, you know, we all make mistakes. Sell bench, start Giggs. Oh, fucking hell, Scott. Jesus, mate. Sell bench, start Giggs, Beckham or Kane. Okay. I would start Roy Keane, bench Giggs, and sell Becks. Look, I like them all. I like them all, but look, for me, I think this is a personal thing. I would start Keane, bench Giggs, sell Becks. So only because Keane is probably my favourite player. Giggsy was here for till he was 40. I'm taking away the person that Giggs was, and Beckham obviously left, was sold, but Beckham, I mean, bloody hell, mate, you are ripping out my heart here, mate. Brownlight says there are specific midfield roles in Ammon's system: CDM, DLP, right attacking, left attacking. Kobe Mainoo's not our first choice. Scott says sell bench Rio, Vidic, and Stam. Bloody hell, Scott, what are you trying to do to me, mate? Again, Yap Stam was an immense player, a unit. I would, and I think it depends on how you feel about players, I would start I'd start Vidic, bench Rio, and sell Stam. And again, I'm basing this on longevity, basing this on impact. I think you could either do either or. I think Rio or Vidic, take your pick, stick your finger in the air. I just like Vidic more, so I'd go Vidic, Rio on the bench, and sell Stam. Wayne Hughes says, hello Wayne, hope you're doing extremely well. Nick Hughes says, keep Giggs away from your wives. I mean, yeah, I agree. Scott is there getting harder and harder. Well, Scott there getting harder and harder. I mean, Bobby, I don't want to know about his private life. One more, JB. Cool. Start bench Van der Sar, David De Gea, and Pete Schmeichel, mate. All day long, keeping Schmeichel. I am benching Van der Sar and I'm selling David De Gea. Only on the basis, look, De Gea is here for a long time. They're getting harder and harder. Bobby, look, mate. I think the goalkeeper one is slightly easier for me. I like them all. Peter Schmeichel, number one. Van der Sar, I thought was unbelievable. Van der Sar, second, and then I'd sell David De Gea. Look, it is what it is. Scott, mate, you're coming out with some blinding ones today, mate. So amazing. Look, guys, I'm going to go. I do have to get back to work. Sadly, I wish this was my job, but it's not. Look, like, favorite, and subscribe to make this my job. Look, like, favorite, and subscribe. make this my job. Now, before I go, current form: Haaland, Kane, or Mbappe. I prefer Haaland, and I'd go Kane and then Mbappe last. For me, speak later. Have a great day. And you, my friend. Look, I will be back this evening. I'll be back with an evening show. I hope there were other things to talk about this evening. Look, I'll bring in a subject this evening, and you guys, as you always do, come in with your own opinions, and we can take a we can have an opinion as we always do. So look, guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting the channel as you always do. You guys are legends of the chat. Thank you so much for supporting me. This channel is nothing without you guys. El Ghani Global says hi. Hello, my friend. Hala Madrid, of course. So look, guys, I'll be back this evening. You guys are amazing. I'm JB. This is the United Devil channel. I'll see you this evening. Take care and see you in a bit.